winter project. I was working on putting some lights in my trunk. So when you open up the trunk, you got some lights in here so you could see at night. Why I did that is right here I got a button switch that when the trunk shuts turns the light off. If you look real close, here's my wiring. You can't really see any wires. And all my wires come down through this pipe which goes inside my trunk. Hides all of them. Now the wires come down behind my speaker into this little, well, this is that pipe that I showed you earlier. They all come down into that. I fished this is my second speaker wire for the left speaker, and one of those red is for the brake light I'll show you, and then the other one is for the trunk light that I fished through. You know, your trunk is hollow, and it's really not hard to fish a wire across. One trick is to have a string and to feed it across. One other thing I did was I hooked up a brake light underneath the seat, underneath the backrest, so that when you push on the brakes, brake lights come on. Kind of hard to do with one with a long stick, but that's pretty much concealed. Can't even see it. If I had a second person in my shed, you'd be able to see how that brake light comes on. And I have I have a small row of LEDs underneath that are on all the time. They're kind of like running lights. All right, here's what they look like. Brake lights on. Oh, obviously, duh. Yeah, this is kind of like the height that a person in a car would have, so I dim the lights in my shed. And as you can see, they're very inconspicuous. I wired up those lights so that at night, if I want to have all my LEDs on, you'll see them on all the time. It's just a couple of diodes, but then you know you don't have that upper brake light working with your brake lights, so if it's nighttime, you're gonna see them all anyway. Mind you, I don't have my front fairing on, so I don't have all my lights working. If I had my front light working, it wouldn't front fairing on. You wouldn't be having this flash so quickly. But one other thing I did is I added a little LED on my handlebar. It's a let me turn that off. It's just a real tiny LED. It's 3mm, and I used a machine lathe with a starting bit to drill that out, and it's really kind of not noticeable when it's not on, but when you have your turn signal on, oh, wrong side, there we go, it flashes enough to be seen. I know I can't stand it when it flashes so fast, but once I get my front fairing on, it won't be doing that. The reason why I took my front fairing off is because I'm adding an amp, and I'm getting rid of the factory speakers. I'm gonna go with some Alpines, and I know some people say that Alpines aren't water resistant, they're not weather rated, but I have a covering that I put on there. So that's kind of what my winter project has been, and I'll let you see. Alright, so here I have unbolted my rear seat. there are those LEDs that I showed you earlier, the brakes. Now, this big, huge glob of hot glue, that big glob of glue is where my wires go in. And then I fished them down through to there. And there's that red wire right there. That goes to my, my rear LEDs. Once again, there's no wire showing anywhere. I've got a wire going with that back speaker, and all of it is hidden inside my shell right there. And give me a second here. I'll turn that on. That's what she looks like. That's what she looks like when she's turned on without the back seat on there. And then we put the back seat on. Line her up. There she goes. Ta-da! Oh yeah, those LEDs right there, you can buy them at your local auto store for $25. Or you could go on eBay and get them for like $2. But you gotta wait quite a while for them to come in from China. And I know you people know that how much I hate cheap Chinese products. And my reason, those are supposed to be white LEDs, but I think they're pretty darn blue. And that's what you get. High quality, educated Chinese 14-year-old workers. She's probably 8-year-old workers. And so to get a wire from there down to here, and the same way with running a speaker wire from that speaker all the way across to here, is I use a string. And basically you got to be very careful when you drill your hole, especially if you're going to add a light. If you're going to add a light inside your trunk like that, you're going to drill an 1/8 inch hole. You're going to drill an 1/8 inch hole very carefully so that you don't pop it all the way through. Then you're going to use a string, and you're going to push that string into the hole that you drilled, and you're going to push the string in, and then you're going to have to unbolt your trunk lid, unscrew it, and then actually tip it on its side and shake it so that your string falls down into this spot here. And then I use a little a dental pick is what I use to hook it out. So basically I'll get this dental pick, and I'll go inside there and I'll fish out my wire. And I use a nice bright color wire, this orange one. You can get this at any hardware store. A nice thin rope string. This is a nylon string, and you can just pull it out with your dental pick. You know, you guys should be going to the dentist more often. When she's not looking, just when the hygienist isn't looking, just reach over and grab it. She'll never notice. Or you could go to like a Harbor store or Harbor Freight and get them for pretty cheap. They're like a couple of bucks. All right, now I gotta put this all back together and show you guys what the finished product looks like, maybe in about a month. So you're kind of probably wondering, how did I get the LEDs on the side like that? I drilled them with a 2mm drill bit, and if you look at it, they are pretty darn flush. Got them right on that pinstripe, and we'll look inside our trunk. I took out the brake light so you could get an idea what I did. Yeah, I know, it's a squirrel mess of wire. There are the LEDs. You have to take out your shell. You have to take out your trunk shell, and then you drill from the outside in. Drill from the outside in to get your LEDs lined up. Here's what one of those LEDs look like. Oh, great. I dropped it. Oh, that's gone. I'm never finding that one again. Here's how I got my LEDs spaced out on my trunk. I got that string. I tell you, I like the string. And 1.5 inch space between the LEDs. And I just taped the string along there and drilled my holes. You gotta be really careful, but I use a string because then it's easy to go around corners. There was my start point right there. That was my first LED, and then I just taped it onto the side and I went around the edge.